So what is the absolute value of a number? Absolute value is a measure of how big a number it is, or a number's magnitude, without regard to whether that number is positive or negative. So for example, negative 1200. It's a really big number. So is positive 1200. It doesn't matter whether it's positive or negative. Those are big numbers. Those are going to have large absolute values. 2 is a pretty small number. So is negative 2. Doesn't matter whether it's positive or negative. They're going to have small absolute values. But here's the definition I like to use. The absolute value of a number is that number's distance from 0 on the real number line. So if we look at a number line and think about our last examples, 1200 and negative 1200 are both really far away from 0 on the number line. So they're going to have really big absolute values. Those are big numbers. It doesn't matter whether you're positive or negative on the right-hand side of the number line or the left-hand side of the number line. If you're far away from 0, if you're a big number, you're going to have a big absolute value. 2 and negative 2 are both pretty close to 0. They're small numbers. They have a small absolute value. Again, doesn't matter whether you're positive or negative on the right-hand side of the number line or the left-hand side of the number line. And the way that we denote or write the absolute value of a number is with 2 vertical bars on either side of the number. So for example, to write the absolute value of W, we'd write it this way. And below you see the absolute value of 5, the absolute value of 3, etc., etc. So let's look at these 4 examples, starting with the absolute value of 5. Well, what is the absolute value of 5? We've got to figure out how far 5 away is from 0 on the real number line. Well, it looks to me like 5 is 5 units away from 0 on the real number line. So we'd say the absolute value of 5 is 5. Similarly, for 3 is 3 units away from 0 on the real number line. So the absolute value of 3 is 3. Same thing with 10. 10 is going to be exactly 10 units away from 0 on the real number line. So the absolute value of 10 is 10. The absolute value of 0, well, how far away is 0 from 0 on the real number line? Well, 0 is right on top of 0. It's 0 units away. So the absolute value of 0 is 0. And perhaps we're starting to see a trend. And in general, the absolute value of any non-negative number is just going to be itself. The absolute value of 27 is 27. The absolute value of 300 is 300. The absolute value of 13/8 is 13/8. What about the absolute value of negative numbers? Same strategy. Just got to figure out how far away from 0 on the real number line are they. So, to find the absolute value of negative 5, well, looks to me like negative 5 is exactly 5 units away from 0. So the absolute value of negative 5 is 5. What about negative 3? Same strategy there. Looks to me like negative 3 is exactly 3 units away from 0. So negative 3 has an absolute value of 3. Same thing with negative 10. Negative 10 is exactly 10 units away from 0. So its absolute value is going to be 10. And perhaps you found a pattern here as well. And what happens is, for any negative number, its absolute value is just going to be its additive inverse, or the positive version of that number. Because of course, negative 3 is exactly 3 units away from 0. Negative 5 is 5 units from 0. Negative 10 is 10 units from 0. Negative 29 is 29 units from 0. Negative 376 is 376 units away from 0. And perhaps you've also noticed that any 2 numbers that are additive inverses of one another will always have the same absolute value. So negative 5 has the same absolute value as positive 5. Negative 3 has the same absolute value as positive 3. Negative 10 has the same absolute value as positive 10, etc., etc. One other thing that you may have noticed is that the absolute value of a number can never be negative. If we've defined the absolute value of a number to be its distance from 0 on the number line, of course a distance can't be negative. You can't have a negative distance. So it's impossible to take the absolute value of a number and get a negative number. The absolute value will be at least 0 or positive all the time.